Hey everyone, welcome back. So tonight I figured it's going to be a little bit of a mismatch of working on different things. I apologize I didn't post a notification for last week. For those people not in the US, last week was a holiday for us called Thanksgiving. It's usually just a time of people getting together with family, giving thanks for what we have. So today I kind of wanted to go through and get caught up on some material design and XAML stuff. I have not forgotten about the theme brushes that I've spent several streams working on. However, the release was getting large and it became apparent that that was going to have those breaking changes for those people who watched the previous video with the source generators. And so I decided to inject another release before the 5.0 release. So I punted the theme brushes into next release and decided to just get the 4.3.0 version out. So for those people who didn't catch it, last week I did kick the 4.3.0 release live. It is out there. Please go and use it. Give me feedback. Let me know what's there, what's broken. Hopefully not too much. Hopefully the tests have caught most things. But every time I kick a release, I always find that I've broken somebody's workflow. So that happens a lot. Jumping into a few other things before we dive into code. So right now, we are approaching the Advent season. And for those people who are interested, there is a thing called Advent of Code. I will drop a link in the chat for anyone who wants to check it out, especially for people who are interested in doing kind of like programming problems, mostly to try to hone your skill set. Eric, who puts it together, does a great job. The projects or the problems at each day kind of have a lot of variety to them. So some may seem easy to you, some may seem difficult, kind of depends on where you're at. But a lot of people usually come out of this with the idea of, hey, that really helped me get better at programming or learn it. So doesn't matter your language. What it does is it offers you a problem, and then it is up to you to solve that problem with programming. So the first one that's out there is all about just dealing with, which numbers in this set are bigger than the previous number. Doesn't seem like necessarily a hard thing to do, but your sample set that you get is big enough that you can't do it by hand. This is something where writing a little program, writing a little script, something to get you the right answer, and more importantly, as a way of trying to learn your programming language. So if you're interested, it is out there. It is free to sign up. He does take sponsorships, so if you find that it was worth your time and you want to give him a thank you, that is certainly one way to give back. Okay, so material design in XAML. Let's jump back here. So there's a few things going on. First of all, I kicked in what I thought was a tiny change. I made a small boo-boo. So I went in here, and the icon update. I thought I had fixed everything, but the automatic icon update is failing, and that's no bueno. So I wanted to go in and get this guy fixed first and potentially do a little bit of cleanup and maybe some automation around the GitHub Actions. So there's a lot that can be done here. This was kind of done quickly, and there's a lot that can be made up. So I want to take a look at this because until this gets fixed, we're not getting any icon updates, which I prefer to have updated icons. Everyone likes updated icons. Okay, and I have a hunch I know what I did to break this. So yeah, so this error here, CSC, so for those people who may not be familiar with this, this is the process name of the C# compiler. So whenever you see that come through, that's what it is. Invalid option, 10.0, lang version. So I have a hunch. So it's complaining that I passed invalid option 10.0 for the lang version. And I'm pretty sure I know what change I made that did this. We could hunt through the history, but I'm pretty sure I know where to look. I'm pretty sure I did this. Sorry, that's a little small. Is Karnak running? It's not. Let me fix that. Okay, so for those people who may be unfamiliar with it, there's a couple magical files inside of .NET, specifically the MS build system. So if you do like C# customizing your build, something about like that, there's this lovely docs page. Yeah, and it talks about these two magical files, directory build props and directory build targets. And so what this ends up doing is when you execute a build, it walks up your directory hierarchy looking for one of those files. And if it finds it, it just slurps it up, which is great because it means you can now put a file like this at the root of the repo and all of my projects magically get language version 10. Well, there's a teeny problem with that. C# 10 is on by default with .NET 6, which is released. Huzzah. But it's also a later version of the compiler than what the .NET 3.1 SDK knows about. So 3.1 released, and it doesn't know anything about C# 10. In fact, I think it may only know C# 8. Pretty sure it's 8. Don't quote me on that. I think it's 8. So I installed an SDK. It used the compiler from the SDK. The SDK doesn't know about version 10, so it goes boom. So there's a couple potential fixes. So one would be this lang version supports multiple values. It doesn't have to be numeric. You can actually set it to things like latest or preview. I don't like those. I like being a little more explicit. Like if I'm going to opt into the latest language version, I want to opt into it. So, but to be aware, you can opt into the latest language versions without breaking older people who are referencing your NuGet package. So this is compiler features that we're getting, not necessarily runtime or framework features. So nobody panic. The library isn't losing backwards compatibility because of this. It is, however, going to be dropping and going to .NET 4.7.2, I think is what the version's going to be in the next release. So bear in mind, 4.3.0 supports .NET 4.5. This will be the last release supporting .NET 4.5. So if you are still on that old framework, please update, or I'm sorry. The 4.5 stuff is either, depending on which subversion you're on, is either out of support or will be out of support come April. And I am killing support early because I need support for some of this generator stuff. So just be aware, it's going to drop. So I'm not killing framework support. My intent is usually to support things as long as Microsoft does. But when we're bumping up within a few months of end of life, I'm going to pull the trigger a little early, especially if it's blocking other features. So I always struggle to imagine the people who are on an old framework and consistently updating their libraries. I feel like those two things kind of are backwards. Either you're on an old framework and you're stuck there because of some dependency or business case or whatever, and you're not updating, or you are updating and you're on a newer version. So I'm always torn about how much to support. So okay, let's go powwow here. So I think the simplest thing to do is let's just fix that guy. So if we come in here, reload. Apparently I changed branches and Visual Studio lost its mind. Okay, so I want to clean these up a little bit. So let's do new folder. New. No, I'd like to rename. Thank you. Build. Let's do build. So I want to put things like all of my build YAML files in there. Let's see. So there, and there. You'll know when I drag these things around, because these are solution folders, not real folders. It does a copy, not a move. Okay, so we're gonna do that. Okay, good. I'm sorry, I was mostly checking to make sure Karnak was displaying in the corner. Okay, Visual Studio. You know what? I'm gonna close some stuff down because I don't know. I was doing some system command line work earlier. I ran into a problem and I don't know how to fix it yet. So I need to think. Okay. Also, I started a kind of a fun home project with a Raspberry Pi running slightly older Windows IoT, and then for fun I pulled in a Maui application to give Maui another shot. using SignalR to talk to the tube. So if you are interested in seeing that project or seeing videos on that kind of stuff, let me know. Either drop me a line in a chat or leave me a comment. I'm always struggling to figure out what content is most useful to people. According to Google statistics, my material design videos are what people want to see, so I do that. I'm gonna end up doing this code anyway. Okay, so icon update. So this guy here, the simplest thing to do is just rev up the version here. And I think what we do is we just rev the version to 6x and we call it good. That should fix this problem here. Yeah, so that'll fix this and at least get that moving. But I do want to take another look at a few of these other things, because right now we've got a nightly release, a release, and a PR verification. And there is, frankly, a lot of duplication in all of this stuff. There doesn't need to be. We can split this up, and I think we should. So there's a couple different ways you could go about doing this. One of which is you can do like if conditions on your individual the steps inside of your jobs. And that's one way. So you can kind of say, well, if this is a PR, do this. If it's this, do this. That's one option. The other option is we can do kind of a shared YAML file approach and break some of this stuff up. I'm just wondering if that would make more sense. Because I'm also noticing some of these are starting to deviate a little bit in this. Yeah, because the nightly release, I want to keep most of this, but I also want to keep this little bit around. I think we just break up and share some of these steps. There's no reason we can't do that. Okay, so let's look at what that looks like. So, what I think we're going to use is what GitHub calls a composite action, and I am just going to blatantly steal from one of my other libraries. So for those people who want the docs, GitHub Composite Action. Where is Composite Action docs? Create a composite action. This guy, this thing. This is what we want. So this is for people who are interested. Here are the docs. I'm just gonna do it and talk about it as we go. So there's all this stuff. Yeah. Key things to note about it. The file must be called action.yaml. I missed that line when I was reading the docs the first time that I did this, and then spent an hour trying to figure out why it wouldn't work. Well, that's why. It turns out that reading is awesome and can help you solve a lot of problems in life. Okay, so might drop into VS Code for this. I think that might be an easier option. Give me just 1 second. Let me see, what do I have open here? I need to close some stuff up. Open folder. Oh, right. I formatted my hard drive, and now I can't remember where I put anything. Okay, we're gonna do it here. Yes, I trust the authors of this folder. Largely because I am one. And I don't code very well in my sleep, so, okay. So what we are going to do, and if you are interested, I pop this open just because sometimes I have trouble remembering how I've done this on other libraries. So if people are interested, I think I've mentioned this before. I keep making projects. I am addicted to it. But this is one for testing static methods. For example, datetime.now. If you wanted to, no, not what I wanted you to do. So if you want to be able to write a unit test that ends up testing datetime.now, something like this works. It's pretty cool. I have yet to get the 1.0 release out the door, but it's currently sitting at the point where sent it out to several people and asked for feedback. And so if anybody would like to look at it and provide feedback, I'm most interested in you can take a look at the docs for the getting started. If you want to plug it in and test it, preview packages are out on NuGet.org. And let me know. I tried to send it to a good variety of people of different skill sets, because you never get a second chance to get a first impression. So, okay, so here's what we're gonna do. But we're gonna steal this because I did this same thing here for my workflows, which I kind of like. So we're gonna do the same thing. So, and the whole reason for looking at that was I do actions and then build and test. So I just like my structure. So actions, and then we'll do another new folder, build and test. Boom. Because that's pretty obvious what we're doing, right? I think so. Action or actions? Action singular. Yeah, that's why I check. Yeah. Okay, so first thing we need to do is if we come over to the docs, we can kind of look at this. We can kind of just grab their starter one just to get a template going. Okay. File and test. Let's see. Builds the solution and runs the test. Okay. So we got some input variables, we got some output values, and then we got a set of steps. So let's go and look at what we actually want to put in these steps. And ultimately what I'm looking for here is the common pieces across all of this other stuff. And so common pieces I see are setup.net, restore, build, test, upload screenshots. I think, because that's the nightly release. PR verification I think does the same thing. Does I apologize. I do not have the thing set up for Discord on my chatbot at the moment. However, you can find it there. Just make sure the link still works. Boom. Yeah, that'll drop you in. I will admit, I am not good with Discord, and I try to be more, I need to be more active on it. I need to. But I've got about 5 chat clients I manage in a day, and sometimes I lose track of them. Okay, so we've got those bits there. So we're just going to copy it, because I think the PR verification is probably a good example of the smallest bit. Now, the one thing you'll note that I'm not grabbing is the checkout action. The reason for that is because the way I'm going to reference this, with these GitHub Actions, when you reference them, there's multiple ways to do it. If you do it the simple way, where you just do owner/repo, like actions setup.net, this is an actual GitHub repository. So you can actually, any of these GitHub Actions, if you ever want to know where they're, take a look at them, you just do github.com, spell com correctly, /paste, go. And that's how GitHub Actions looks it up. So it's coming in here and it knows where all of this stuff is. So if you reference it like you see when you looking like the GitHub Actions marketplace, that's how everybody's going to show it, is owner/repo name @ version number. And so if we look in here, you will see releases, and there will be like a 2.0 or similar release, or I'm sorry, a tag, I think is how it pulls it out. Is that right? Yeah, so V1, there would be a V2 tag in here. It's probably buried. Oh yeah, so they've got multiple things in here. In terms of just referencing those. But you don't have to put it in another repo if you don't want to. You can reference it as a local file path, but if you do so, you need to have that file checked out first. So there's a bit of a chicken and the egg. You can't put your composite action in the same repo and then try to reference it with a file path and expect it to work if it contains the checkout action, because you have to check it out so that it can find the file path. So we will explain that more in just a moment. So I think this mostly works. Now, things that I'm noticing I'm going to need. I'm going to need a, so things I need. So let's do, I think we're going to keep this named solution. I don't see any reason why not. So we'll do solution, description, the relative path to the solution file, and then required. This is definitely going to be required. Let's see. Okay, and so then all of these env solutions here, let's see, are just going to be, let's see, what is it? Is it, no, it's alt, I think. Hold down alt and click, yeah. So because this name up here is inputs, we type in inputs.solution. Okay, so that gets that one changed out. We've got build configuration, so we'll do that. I'm just going to get rid of this one. Let's see, build configuration, and I go back and forth on what I prefer, whether I like the camel casing of the variables, or I don't know what you call the hyphen form, snake case. I've heard people call it kebab case. Kind of makes sense. Let's see here. The configuration to use when building. Let's see, so required, we are definitely going to make it required. And then we're going to do the same thing here. Oh, so here, here, here. I can imagine it's in the same line. Yeah. Inputs. Okay, so what else we got that's env dot? So if you're looking for the docs as well, inside of these $ double curly braces, this thing in front, in GitHub Actions world, is referred to as a context. And so you can pull open, here, just grab the docs. Let's see, GitHub Actions, context, this guy here. Excuse me. And the key part with all of these contexts is to note this very bottom section, this context availability. So based upon where you are in the YAML, which contexts are available and usable at that point, because not all of them are usable everywhere. So, cool. Okay, so let's see what else we got over here. So env build platform. Well, what's my build platform that I was setting up? Any CPU. You know what? I'm gonna drop that and just hard code it, because I don't think that that's overly helpful anymore. Okay. One other thing that I do like to do is once I've resolved all warnings in a project, I like to turn on treat warnings as errors as true in my pipeline. Part of the reason for this is warnings are usually just errors that people are ignoring. However, there's often, I usually very strongly feel that it's good to address all of the warnings. Usually strongly feel. Yeah, we're going with it. However, I also want to make the project very approachable for people to start hacking on and working on. And if you have warnings as errors turned on, that can be a huge pain in the neck. So as a compromise between the two, what I do is I leave it off on the project, but on the pipeline. That way, if people want to clone and play with it, they can hack away on it to their heart's content. But if you want to submit a pull request or something back into the repository, you got to address the warnings first. So that's the compromise. And so far, it hasn't caused that many hiccups. It's kind of the broken window syndrome, is when people go to upload stuff in a pull request. If there is an issue, they typically turn right around and just fix it. I'm also noticing that this may end up being an interesting thing. So I do want to check the UI test and make sure that they are still running against Net 5 Windows. That's kind of an interesting one. But that's hard-coded there, but we'll leave it for now. It's not breaking me. Okay, so setup.net. We don't need these outputs. We aren't really going to output anything here. So we're just going to take in a solution and a build configuration, and we will share all of this YAML. And most of these other files are about to get really thin really fast. Okay, so next step. And I'm going to go back to my other repo because stealing from previous work is a smart idea. Okay, so we come in here. Boom. Looks kind of like this. And a copy. And so nightly release. Paste. Okay, so you'll note the key part here is I'm referencing it with a relative file path. And again, the whole reason for doing that is because, and why I didn't put the checkout as part of this, is because this checkout has to happen first so that this file path then exists. Otherwise, things no worky. Okay, so and actually timeout minutes is probably a good thing to specify. Let me go and look. What is a good upper bound for this? What is like the full release? It's like 7 or 8 minutes. So let's do it. And I usually try to pick a value where if I were to see one of my actions running for that period of time, I would cancel it without thinking twice. And I think at this point, if I see it going for 20 minutes, it's something's hung, something's going crazy. Let's just kill it, not waste build minutes. Okay, so that'll do that timeout there. And then this with thing here. Oh, I did not address the secrets, did I? Gotta address the secrets. If I so we'll come back over here, composite actions, and I believe there is a way of dealing with, I believe, I'm trying to remember, secrets get passed in. Didn't I handle this on my other one? Let me look. Here, so go back, go up, and that was too far, and go in and go here. So I think I do the same thing in here. Oh, it just comes in as an input and it gets sourced from a secret. Got it. That's what I did. And this guy here, see here I went with underscores. Well, I can't decide. Let's see, so this becomes inputs, NuGet token, and because this is just set as an environment variable, it's optional. We'll be explicit. So required false. Because it's technically only going to be required if I want to do any NuGet pushing, which is only going to be done by 2 out of 3 of these. So I don't actually need to specify it in all cases. Okay, nightly release. So we're gonna just, this one will be easy to go for out the gate. And this is actually going to be secrets at, because that's the name of my secret down there. And then I need the rest of my variables. So we'll start with solution. Just whack that up. And so previously I was sourcing that from ENB solution, so we'll just put that in. And then I had build configuration, which was coming from this guy. So we'll put build configuration in, source it from that guy, and then we get to delete a bunch of YAML. Makes me very, very happy. Boom. That will clean all of that up. Okay, so then PR verification. Actually, nightly release, I think I can probably get rid of the any CPU one and just confirm that there's no more usage as a build platform. Yeah, so you should be dead. Excellent. I'm wanting to get to the point where I can source these variables out, because right now I've got them in 2 places. I'm not thrilled with that. Not thrilled with that at all. Okay, so let's do the release next, because it's going to be largely the exact same thing. Grab this, come over here, plug it in right there. Just confirm the variables. Yes, 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 And then we will delete all of this. Don't need all that anymore. Might do one for the NuGet stuff because that might be worth doing. Yeah, we might do one more. Okay, so there's release, nightly release, PR verification. PR verification is going to be pretty simple. It's going to be basically just that. Let's see. So, boom, boom, boom. Okay. Okay, so that goes there. Clean that up. Clean that up. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, so just gonna run through a quick check. Okay, so let's look at these NuGet ones and see if we should break these up, because what's different about these? Because this does build NuGets, upload demo app. PR verification goes away. So build NuGets. They're both doing the exact same thing. I think the only difference is whether it includes the... Yeah, I think the version is the only thing that's different on these, because one is tacking on the CI run number on the end of it, and the other one isn't. Yeah, I think that's part of the problem. So let's do another one here. So new folder, push NuGets. Yeah, we'll do it. So once again, we'll go new file, action.yaml, and I'm actually going to start with my previous one. Paste, and then let's come over here to nightly release. I think you are actually going to be the biggest one. I'm wondering if this should actually be push artifacts. I think I like that better because it does do the demo app too, and the demo app is not a NuGet. So then we're going to come in here, steps. We're going to make some sweeping assumptions about what's previously been done. Okay, so I think the first thing we need to do is pass in some version numbers. So how about MDIX version, the version number for the material design library. How about put that on there? It's not a big deal. And then we've got what? Colors and Ma apps. Yeah, so there's Ma apps, there's colors. So we'll just do the next two. So colors, there's no colors library. YouTube, don't need them. So we do, let's see here, Ma apps, apps, library, boom, boom. Okay, so then this guy is going to change. It's no longer going to be this mess. He's just going to blindly take in whatever he's given. VIX version. Copy that. And then let's see, get rid of all that. This becomes my apps, and then place this guy here. Let's see, colors. Okay, so that handles those. This will be fine. This will be fine. This has build configuration in it. kind of wondering if I should pass in build configuration or if I should pass in something a little more generic, like demo app. I think something more like this. Relative path to the compiled version of the demo app. Required true. Okay, so this is going to change up then to be a little cleaner. Puts demo app path like that. This, we need the let's see, NuGet key. Kind of wondering, .NET. How do they describe the variable? So if we look at .NET, NuGet push, we're passing it API key. NuGet API key. Boom. Required. Okay. Got that. This just becomes inputs. What do I call it? NuGet key. Oh, don't think too hard. Okay. Go with something like that. That should get me into there. Okay. That works. Okay, so let's go back to nightly release then. We're gonna do something similar. How about push artifacts? Let's see. Push artifacts, something like that. This thing really should have a short timeout. Like if this thing takes longer than 10, we've got a big problem. Okay, and then we've got to do the versions on each of these. Boom, so MDIX version is actually going to look like this. Boom. And then let's see, and this is going to be my apps. And actually, I think I'm going to move that down, and I'm going to put colors in here. Probably reorder those too if I wanted, but eh. Go here. Okay, so main colors, my apps, great. Don't want you anymore. I want this demo app path. Okay. We're going to do demo app path, and this is going to be this bit here. We'll put that there. Okay, and then realizing I've named it two different things, NuGet key and NuGet token. I think we should rename the other one NuGet key. Just, these should be consistent. Actually, I'm kind of questioning if we need it here or not, because we aren't actually authing against it. Yeah, leave it. Okay. But let's go and update. Paste. 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 Okay. Nightly release now has all of those, which means all of these things go away. And then the main release, we need this guy. Boom. Okay, so that gets me to there, that gets me to there. Now the big difference here is these ones aren't going to contain CI. We'll get rid of those. I think most stuff remains the same. Because in this case, this is the actual release. And there's potentially some variability that we could do based upon triggers and whatnot. Though, if I flatten these things into a single... Because the two places where I have this, nightly release and actual release, these are the two places where I have the version number. So if I flatten these into a single YAML, then I'd have a single place to rev the versions. That appeals to me. Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay. So I think we're gonna go with... I think we're going to make release work on a schedule rather than modifying nightly release. Actually, let's take the nightly release file and rename it. Okay, so the big difference here is we want to also include the trigger for a tag push. So, the thing with the tag push is this also... when you do a release inside of GitHub, one of the... Here, I can talk about it, or I could just show the button. Not here. Not here. Let's just go back to the material then. So, for example, when I come in here to do a release, you often come in here and you hit draft new release. And you'll note one of the things that it does is it immediately offers you the opportunity to create a tag pointed at whatever either commit, or typically you'll just grab whatever is the latest on the master branch. Often when I'm doing a release, that's where I'm going to target. And so I can go through and build these things up and get it ready to go. Now, what happens though is when you do that, it will actually create a tag and push, which is very convenient. It also means I could create the tag locally and push and also trigger this as well, which is great. It's exactly what we want. And I've specifically limited it to just V star. So in order for this thing to trigger, I need to create a tag that starts with V dot version number. And that'll become apparent why in just a moment. So, okay, so nightly release also has this extra bit here. I'm trying to decide because this thing has this thing here, and I think I just want to check if the trigger is based on the tag. Because ultimately what I want to end up doing here is some sort of conditional logic for the versions. Because on a nightly release does this fun little check with git tags to know, has there been any changes? This was sort of my cheater way of doing it, because I didn't want to just automatically push a new version if there wasn't changes. But there are also times where sometimes I've blocked the nightly for going out a few days, so I didn't want to just assume that changes for more than 24 hours, and I was like, whatever. So what it does is there's a tag, and normally you don't move tags around, but this thing moves the tag around, and it just checks, is the tag on the latest one or not? If it is, no changes. If the tag's back a ways, the tag just keeps track of where this thing ran last. So specifically, it's hunting this nightly release tag, which hopefully indicates to people, if you point at that, you're going to get the nightly release. Or you're going to get at least the tag will point to the commit that the last nightly release was run against. So, Okay, so if we flatten these guys up, so nightly release has this extra stuff here, but release has some extra stuff. Oh, did I whack it? No, I didn't whack it. Oh, that's why. I was going to say, occasionally I've parsed the on some projects I've parsed the version that was specified in the tag out, but in this case I can't do that because that would only indicate a single version here. That makes sense. Okay, so let's go back to nightly release. So the question is, because the big difference here between these two things is this only needs to be done if nightly release. So I'm going to remove this if from here at least. So I'm not going to put if on the build thing, but I am going to put the if down here because this should only run. Well, that's actually not true. So this should run always on either trigger because there's workflow dispatch, schedule, and tags. And I guess now I need to ask the question, if I trigger from, so workflow dispatch just means manual trigger. I click the button, the stuff happened. Huzzah. If I click the button, I think I expect the nightly behavior. So I think the condition I should be doing against is if the trigger wasn't a tag, right? Because that will pick up both of these. I think that's the grouping I expect. These two to be treated together, this to be treated together. Okay, so I need to look at the... Ooh, actually, I conveniently left the link in chat. Ha ha ha. So on the GitHub context, there's something that tells you what the triggering thing was. The name, event name, I think is what this is. The name of the event. Thought there was more information about it. Oh wait, hold on. The event that triggered the workflow run. That doesn't. No. Hang on, I think I've got this on another repo where there's another project I work on is AutoMocker, and I believe we flattened. Nope, that's the wrong folder. Nope, that's the dev container. Let's try this again. I believe we flattened it here. What was the check? Oh, it is event name. Okay. So, in that case, what we want to do is if event name is push. Yeah, because we are only looking for pushes against tags. So we're going to just check event name for push. That seems reasonable. And I had to put this in because there was a fun thing when people forked the project. These things would run, and I would get the failure emails. That was not fun. Quickly fix that one. Okay, so this one here should really be... Oh, I guess I only grabbed the inside. If it is not push. So if it's not a push, then do the tag work. Okay, so now I've got to figure out, and I think I need to just change some of this up of how this should go, because I really only care about... So this should run... because I could let the build and test go. Because before I was blocking everything. So I wonder what the behavior is if I have... So I wonder what the behavior is if I block this whole bit. So if this doesn't run and this needs it, I assume this thing, the latter thing, couldn't run, because how would it know what to do? So this guy has to be allowed to run. But I'm thinking what I probably do... Oh, and actually we can speed our stuff up. I forgot about this. See, this is the beauty of having everything in one place. I now come in here. Oh, I can't do it because this is on the checkout. I'll add that in. Not that we've really had issues with the depths, but filter that down a little bit while we're in here. And then I'm wondering if what I should do is inside of this script, if I should change it. And I'm thinking maybe I change this variable. I'm just trying to think of the cases that I care about. So in the case of a nightly build, I almost want to name it should run. And should run will return true if it was workflow dispatch, which is fine. It should return true on the cron job trigger if the tag has been adjusted. And it should run actually, I think should run can still do the tag check just like the cron job. Those two I think we can still treat together, because the only reason I'm manually executing this is either for testing or to kick off a failed one after fixing something. It's just a way of me being able to re-kick it. So I almost want to come in here and say, let's see, I think it's that. So if the event name is a push, or this guy, yeah, and I think we take this here. We do that. I'm just curious what it does. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to comment this out because I want to test this interaction. And that way I don't have to worry about that going. And yeah, I think we'll do this because I'd like to test the full run of this, and then we will pull this guy back out. Okay, so this becomes, so we're going to get rid of the release.yaml. You're no longer a thing. And then we're going to rename this one release. Okay, highly abusive. We're going to go with it. Okay. Updating GitHub Action YAMLs. so you'll note this is on master. Don't do this. Don't do this. But I've got branch filters that limit them. And I want to test this as close to real as I can. Okay, so let's go back. Actions. That should have triggered some stuff. So, or request verification build triggered. It's probably not overly necessary, but okay, so required property is missing shell. Oh, I made a boo-boo. Okay, so on these run commands, you have to tell it what shell it is, PWSH. Because composite commands don't know. Okay, I think those are the only runs I see in here. Boom, boom, boom. Let's check the other one. Boom. There. Let's see. Adding in shell property. And we'll try that again. What is this? Oh, it does trigger on push. Interesting. Though very convenient for the moment. Okay, so let's go back. Nope. Too much stuff open. Okay, so we should be able to see this guy go. So the only thing with a composite action, you still got all the same output, but all of those steps that used to show up here as individual bits, so for example, build and test. If we go back and look at a previous one, right? So if we go back to here, you'll note rather than build and test, build was a separate one, test was a separate one, upload screenshots was a second one. So now because it's a composite, all of those bits are now one thingy. So that's the only drawback to it in my mind is that. But you will see all the same output from it once it actually gens the output. So this is building and testing. So it's doing the .NET installs, yada yada yada. You can see where you can see it's installing .NET 6. Let me look and see. I think there was, got the link here somewhere for what is installed on the build agents. I thought I had that sitting here. Maybe I'm missing it. Maybe I'm missing it. I will find it because there is a documented spec about what's on each of the build agents, which is great, except for one that doesn't have exactly what you need. Okay. Yeah, and we are using centralized package management, yada, 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 yada. Okay. While that's thinking about what it's done, I want to come over to here. And we're going to do a manual run of this. So let's just look back at this real quick to make sure I'm clear on what's going to happen. So I'm going to kick off a workflow dispatch. I will land in here. Who's this legend? How you doing? Justin? Maybe? Trying to remember. I really need to keep an Excel. Yes! I really need to keep an Excel spreadsheet of people I've met and associated screen names. Or write myself a little bot so that it Converts, yes, alias to name. And ideally, I'd like it to convert alias to real name in my chat window. That would be really convenient. So you're in time to watch me have fun with GitHub Actions. So I just condensed a whole bunch of my YAML down so that my release pipeline is 74 lines of YAML. I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen when I disable a step and need the output from the step. Technically, because it's on the latter half of an OR, I should be able to get away with it. I forgot to not change us from ADO only to ADO to Enterprise. Only if it's a short circuit operand. See, and I don't know if it is. So I could muddle through the docs, but I think the answer is going to be, I'm going to click the button and we're going to see what happens. Because I don't know. It's going to do something. And to be fair, it's not nearly as scary as it sounds, because I did go through and I commented out the whole push artifacts to NuGet thing. So that was my stopgap. Is GitHub Enterprise events easier than ADO pipeline syntax? So good question. Answer, it depends on how you define easier. My opinion, yes. Very much yes. However, they aren't one-to-one in capabilities. There are things that DevOps can do that GitHub Actions can't, but you can usually accomplish the same goals. You just might have to do it a little bit differently. So, for example, my opinion is I very much like this style of syntax. The other thing that's really handy, like DevOps, you install these extensions and whatnot, and you have to find them. GitHub Actions, if I want to know what this action is doing, I copy, I go github.com/paste, enter. And now I've got all the code for it. And can you do a release through YAML? Yes. So I'll clarify that statement. Yes, with a little star. So one of the biggest biggest things to be aware of with GitHub Actions is you cannot daisy chain them. So a GitHub action cannot perform something that would trigger another GitHub action. So it's one shot. So you can't like have one push a branch and then another one trigger on the push of that branch and keep going like you can in DevOps and get all these fun daisy chain actions going. That's not a thing. Now, what you can do instead is you can move that kind of, if there's like shared logic or daisy chain action, into shared YAML files and reference them. So you can kind of get that same behavior, but you can't rely on it. So you'll have to go back and watch the recording of this one. So one of the ways you keep it dry is you do what I did, like I pulled out a bunch of my common YAML into something like this and then just referenced it everywhere else. So you can refactor stuff out and reuse it, but you can't daisy chain. So that's the big kicker that goes along with it. In terms of like actual releases, so if we're talking about like GitHub releases, you can have GitHub Actions create pretty much anything you can do with the UI. You can either do directly with an action or just with the GitHub CLI, and you just put it as a script and you're done. And that's easy enough to do. Oh, there is a fun trick. There is sort of a way you can daisy chain stuff together, but it's non-trivial. So, and it's kind of a pain. And I'm trying to remember exactly how you get around it. So, because you can't rely on the exact action, but there's a fun thing with like the environments that you can toggle and switch. So there's weird stuff like that you can push through. So it's not a solution I would recommend. Let's put it that way. I would definitely advocate for refactor the YAML around it. But just like you do in DevOps, Like for example here, you could think of these, the jobs almost as what would be stages in DevOps. And so you can build these things up, and you can do the like fan in, fan out type deals with them, just with the conditions. And environments like local vars and stuff. That's another area where I would say DevOps is somewhat ahead of GitHub a little bit. So you can have variables at different scopes. The variables can be scoped all the way from an org level to a repo level to an environment level. Let's see. So it goes org, repo. You can have multiple environments in a repo. You can have underneath environments, you can have environments at, say, the root of a GitHub action or a pipeline, if you were. And then you could also move this environment block inside of individual jobs, so you can bring the variables down at any of those scopes, and they're shared. So the only other thing that's a little weird that you have to watch out for is this, as the name implies, is a legit environment variable. I have gotten bit a couple times if hypothetically you're running a CLI command that looks for magical environment variable names, and you name one of your variables with one of those names. No goodness will come from this. Bad. Don't do that. Because these do get set as legit environment variables inside the runner. Is this like local runners? These are hosted runners that I'm using. But you can do self-hosted runners if you want. It's very akin to how you do it in DevOps. You make a pool, you take your agent, you put the little agent runner software on it, you give it the key to connect to your GitHub, and you're off to the races. And then you can mark them with like tags and capabilities and that kind of thing, so you can get them set up and flagged for, this is a Linux box, this is my Windows one, that kind of thing. So you can get away with that. And I'm going to jump back here. Oh, it worked. I'm a little interested. So this thing, so it did run. That's interesting. So this guy did run. The set has changed. So hold on, it did run my script. I think that, hold on, I now got to look at my conditions. I think that's expected. So if it's not a push, which this was not a push, that's probably why. This was a workflow dispatch, so I need to trigger the push with a tag. Let's see. Is the agent less poop to set up? It's I'd say about the same. It maybe a teeny bit, but not much. I mean, it operates on the exact same kind of architecture and principles as the ADO ones. I'd have to go and look. It's not terribly difficult, and the docs are fairly easy to follow. But yeah, about the same. If you didn't like setting up the Azure DevOps ones, you'll probably have a roughly the same feeling by the time you get done doing the GitHub one. About a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it's not quite there. Okay, so I'll pitch an idea and tell me what you think. So I had this thought of, I would really love to have a pipeline that I can debug. Like, I want to attach my debugger and step through my pipeline. And I got to thinking, I'm pretty sure that's possible. Specifically, one, you throw away this YAML stuff, or you significantly reduce this YAML stuff down to one thing, which is you shell out to Cake, because Cake is just .NET, and Cake you can pass a debug flag to, And once you do that, my thought was I could put something in the middle that would that you, like, for example, we could write our own little GitHub action, because writing your own custom actions is not hard at all in GitHub. It is stupid easy. It is awesome. Absolutely awesome. Pick your language within reason. Bundle it up. You know, sometimes if you do it like C#, you got to containerize it, but that's not horrible. And you just go. It's pretty easy. Like a lot of stuff, if you're familiar with like TypeScript type stuff, it's really easy. But my thought was a custom runner that would launch Cake and call home to some known server, right? And then you go up to that server, and the server just bridges your connection in and connects your local debugger into your Cake thing, and you get the remote debugging experience on the running agent, looking at the bloody pipeline as it sits. I think it sounds cool. Somebody should build it. I may do it if I get around to it. I got a lot of stuff to get around to. Okay, so short version, this guy went green. That's great. The one that they default use for TypeScript, JavaScript was really nice. Are you just talking about the built-in one for that the TypeScript compiler uses, so that you can just gen the JavaScript right out of it? I shouldn't use the word gen. Compile's not the right word. Transpile? Okay, I want to push a tag real quick. So my tags will trigger, create tag here, vtest. Okay, so I have created a tag. Let's see, collapse some of the stuff up. Too much stuff open. Too much stuff open. Stashes. Too much stuff. Okay. Vtest. Okay, so we are going to push. Why do I have the latest tag? Is this something local? This must be something local. Oh yeah, delete locally. So, gone. Okay, so I'm going to push this tag. And this should trigger, and this should hit that case where we want to test the Boolean. Okay, so that should go. I should go here, and I should see release kickoff. I do. And this is the other thing. I wish there was something that indicated what these columns were. This column here is the triggering condition. It's not obvious. And not all of them display nicely. Like, for example, the scheduler, the cron job. It just displays empty. Okay, so I am interesting. Okay, so it ran. It skipped the checkout. It skipped the nightly release, which is what I expect. But has changed. Okay, did you set output has changed. And I want to look at where is your, oh yeah, you want to know what's set up on your virtual environment? There's the link. There it is. There's all the software. I'm going to look, is Net 6 built in? I'm going to go with probably not. I'm also a little hesitant to rely on particular versions of the SDK existing. Yeah, so currently no. It's got 5.0. So I technically don't even need to be installing 3, but theoretically those installs are smart and should go quickly. Yeah, but it's downloading 5.0.4.3. Was 5.0... Sorry, now I gotta look. Why is it downloading 5.0.4.3 if 5.0.4.3 is already on box? I'm questioning those docs a little bit. I understand why it's grabbing 6.0, but 5.0.4.3 is documented to exist on the box. So, because it skipped 3.1, which is correct. Okay, so I would like to know what it's set. And oh, do I not use that variable anywhere? Oh. I don't use that variable anywhere, do I? Which means I don't know if I'm going to see it because I don't leverage it. That's an interesting problem. Got it. I don't use it, therefore it's not going to show up anywhere. Let's just confirm. There's no... Yeah, because you can see the environment variables that get set, but I'm not leveraging that one anywhere, so it's not going to show up anywhere. Well, that's... Oh, gulp. Yes, yes, yes. So gulp I would describe as a task runner management thingy. But I guess typically that's how the TypeScript stuff gets set up, is you've got all of the various gulp tasks to do the things. That one isn't bad to use. Okay, so I'm realizing though that I have a boo-boo in my... So this likely works. However, what is missing is me actually using this lovely variable that I went to all of the effort of... And I think I'm going to rename this. Should run. We're going to go with that. And then this guy down here is going to be an if uglify back. Remind me, is uglify actually the name of it? Because I've seen that used many times. Let's see. Just see something besides that. Well, see, that's... Of course it is. Of course it is. Uglify.js. I need to go and look at my... I apologize. Boom. Big mode. Okay. I need to look at what the heck that was called before I touched it. So before I was dumb... So hold on. Show me split view, because that is really hard to read otherwise. Nightly release is what I'm looking for. This is the condition. That's the condition I want. Okay, so we want it to look something akin to this. So needs check for changes. Outputs should run. That's what I'm looking for. Not get cracking. Oh. Yes, it is icky, and this comes down to the way the variables get passed around in here. Is there are no types. Everything's kind of a string. I say kind of a string because I can't say there's no types. There are types, but how variables jump between jobs effectively is strings, because the jobs could run on different agents. So at some point they have to get serialized. Why can't it use PowerShell for that reason? Because you might not have PowerShell on the box. This will be PowerShell. So my script stuff I do is PowerShell, but partly I'm abusing it because it's Windows latest. And then like on my other actions, I just explicitly call out, I want PowerShell. Like this will work under any of them, but PowerShell, because PowerShell. Okay, so there's that. That will use it, and yeah, and I played with this many times to figure out how to get this syntax to work, and ultimately came down to this. Was not thrilled with the equals true, but it also has to. It's not quite a bool because it can kind of have three states. It can be true. Could be false, or could be not set. Yuck. And when it goes into that not set case, then you have to start looking at how GitHub does their implicit Boolean conversions. All bools can have three states. No, they can't. Bools are supposed to have two states. One, or I should say 0 and not 0. Some people will say true and false. Name a bool that can't be null. True. Or false. Huh? Maybe a little bit. 0, 1, null. Yeah. Okay, so let's try. I want this with the tag. So we're going to do two things. So I'm going to do something bad. Delete task from remote. Normally don't do that, but hopefully the fact that it's called vtest, people understand that I'm testing and not to be mucked with. Adding condition check. Boom. Push. And okay, so that's out there, and then we will. And I want to come up here and just check the actions because I'm pretty sure it's going to be. Yeah, so there's my previous run. That's fine. I think we're just going to cancel this. I really don't care about its result. We don't need to be wasting build minutes. Same with this one. I really don't care about your result. Okay. And now that should clear out my actions. You'll die in a second. And then I will push the tag. Boom. Okay, now that should go. And there should be an action that starts right there. That's pretty good. Okay, now I want to see what this does. Please tell me it worked. Show me. No, well, all jobs are single-threaded. It's similar to how, or I should say, all jobs run on a single runner. The only reason this thing is behaving single-threaded like that is because I explicitly have my check for changes job, and I have my build job set up as to wait on check for changes. So this is how you could set up like that fan out, fan back. Is each of your jobs, you just declare its immediate predecessor. Similar to how in DevOps you say run after stage to set stuff up. This is effectively the run after stage thing. And so it can split or go together, depends on what you want. But if I had, another job besides build, build 2 that also depended on this, these would execute in parallel. So, and then there are questions of, how many runners do you have available to you concurrently, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Which is how all of those guys get set up. Okay, sweet. That makes me very, very happy. Okay, so the fact that we actually got to the second one means we're going to work, and I don't care anymore. Okay, so I am going to bring... Let me just make sure this is correct. So if this guy kicks off from either a push or a has changes. Oh, that's the last thing I need to do. Is I need to toggle the version numbers because there's a question of whether this should go or not. Yeah, what's the best way to handle that? I think we just do it. Just do it in a PowerShell script, I guess. Is there any reason not to do that? Yeah, let's just do that. We'll just do it like that, I think is the easiest. So here's the question. So I've got this push artifacts, we'll call it function. But so what it ends up doing is building up NuGet packages and pushing them out. And I've got multiple cases that I'm handling here. So the schedule, when this runs due to the schedule, I want it to do a preview NuGet package because that's the nightly release. It just anytime there's a change that night, it runs, it pushes out a preview package with, and just revs the package number with -ci GitHub number on the end. The difference is if I trigger due to a push because of a tag with a V in front of it, that's a full release, and I don't want to append this. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to set something similar to this, where we'll have a condition like this. So if it's not a push, I think I'm going to take in the version numbers and just append CI GitHub number on the end of it and be done with it. I think we're going to do that. So you're going to find this very ugly, so close your eyes. So this is going to be, oh, I wonder. So shadow variable via the shell. Yeah, well, so this set output bit is how you actually set outputs, but I think I can be a little more clever because I know where they're going to be used. I think I can just set them in the environment. Let me look. I think I can just set them in the environment variable. Let's see, GitHub Actions. Because yeah, blah, 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 blah. Change APK name, shell, PowerShell, yuck. Aha, that's what it is. It's not set output that I want. I want set environment variable. For any steps running next in a job. That is exactly what I would like. So I can just do this. And then you can get at it here. Yeah, the only problem with that is, so if you do the $env, you're gonna grab it and mutate the environment variable in your current running process. Even though you're on the same agent, you need the environment variable to stick to the next execution. Because it's not like it's just gonna be one process into the next. But I think we'll go, that is what we seek. Or what I seek, at least. Okay, so I want MDIX version. And then this will be, actually I think I can just do this. Copy, paste. MDIX version equals blah blah blah, set to GitHub environment. Paste, paste. I think we go, then we do colors. We do ma apps. Did I really lowercase the a in ma apps? No, it's capital. Clearly casing doesn't matter because this has been working for a while. So, but we're gonna clean that up. And then this goes here. This goes here. So version gets version. And then setup, what's a better name? Set preview. It's a little more clear of what I'm doing. Okay, so I want to see this get set, and then just we're just gonna confirm real quick to make sure it works. Run. I think we go like that. Set version to nightly. Oh, that's actually probably good. About set nightly version numbers. Okay, name. Try that just to confirm that it does in fact do what I think it does. So the problem that I'm running into is I don't actually have access to the NuGet feed. I have an access token that gives me push permissions, which does not let me unlist a package. So if I mess this up, my solution right now is rev the version and push again. Which is not a great solution. So we're gonna try this. Testing nightly version numbers. Boom. Something like that. Okay, let's give that a shot. You're not pushed to an alternate feed. I could push to like the GitHub one, the GitHub artifacts as an alternative, but I would have to go and edit my shared thingy, and I was like, eh. And actually, technically, I don't. So I made this thing a shared action or a composite action, and then condensed the two files that were using it into one. So, it still has a nice ring to it. And I may end up wanting to use this for something else. So I have a desire to get a set of these actions set that I can reuse on a bunch of projects, because I have a lot of very, very similar looking YAML files spread across a lot of projects. And I'm getting close. I keep copying and pasting and then tweaking and tweaking and tweaking. And eventually it's going to be getting closer. It's getting closer. Because ideally, I paste it in, set the environment variables, and I walk away. And I should have my whole setup. Okay. So that should have triggered on the push. And I should see... let's see. Build and test, update latest tag, perfect. That did exactly what we expected. Excellent. That is not the run that I care about. I need to go here, and I would like to run here. Yeah, the other thing that I do end up doing is on these guys here, I do save the artifacts into them so I can pull them back down for what it's worth. So those things are all in there. The one thing I'm not really thrilled of is I ended up appending this little run number to it, only because, and I probably could have gotten fancy with like check if it's one or not and don't append it. Because if you rerun a failed one, it'll have the same number, and it can because you rerun a failed job, not a step. And so if one step uploads some artifacts, but then a subsequent step in the same job fails, and you rerun, that upload then fails because that name is already taken. It's like, I get it, you don't want to blow away artifacts that were there, but so I disambiguated them by doing that, but it's like, felt yucky. I felt dirty. Okay, so this guy here should run just testing. Go! It wins! It wins! I'm so happy. My happy face. Okay, so that got, wait a minute. This set nightly versions. Hang on. CI7? No CI7. Didn't we do exactly as instructed? Okay, echo action state value, push into GitHub action, or push into GitHub environment. Second step, this will output yellow. It pushed build the not a cron job. Oh, it can't push. So, and I say that because I commented out the push for this exact reason, because I would mess it up. But you are correct. That means it fell into the wrong case. What the heck? None of them worked. Echo? Isn't that exactly... Reverse the ternary. And then see if it works. Well, the ternary is on the if condition for this. If something gets skipped, it'll end up looking... this won't show it because all of those are going to get run. If something gets skipped, it will end up looking a little bit like this with the little slash. This ends up indicating that the condition on it wasn't matched. And so the fact that it ran means that this condition matched. So it wasn't a push, which is what I expect. And it echoed the right... Okay, something is... Curl. Yes, it is. There are a couple of them, and they specifically call... Here, I'll drop a link. They specifically use some temp files and magical variables. Yeah. Which is fine-ish, but... Oh, I wonder if it's because I've got them declared up above. I'm wondering, because you'll note in this one here, they don't show their environment block. I'm wondering if because I set it up here, this is always winning. Well, see, that's the thing, is I thought it did. I'm just thinking I've done something wrong. Yeah, you'd think that the last one would get to win. I'm wondering if it's also because I have the environment block declared outside the job. But I wouldn't expect that to happen either. Because I could do it as an output, but that just gets yuckier to reference. Or I should say, it gets longer. I'd prefer to leave everything else the same and not have to do that kind of garbage. Like, but I am wondering if it's because it's set outside. Let's just check this. This requires a variable substitute. name, middle, last, which is fine. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of built-in variables. Determining when to use default environment variables or context. Yeah, that's not what I'm interested in. To create or update. Yeah, which is why I would have expected, if I back up here, which is why I would have expected that when this thing directly showed me, like, it shows me the command it executed. I'm not being dumb, right? Like, name equals value. Uh-oh. This is the part where Justin says that I can't read. Which, I know you're late to the party, Justin, but earlier I made the very revolutionary statement that reading helps you know things. Assigning a system path. I don't need that. Did I just miss no? Nope. Well, and here, the other thing, if you want to see it, here's the run. Like, it's not like any of this is private. There's the public bit. These are the incoming environment variables. I would have expected this thing to update. Let's see. I'm almost tempted to try that and see what happens. Set environment was deprecated. Well, let's just read that about that. Should update any uses. Use the new environment files. You're using bash commands. Echo works in PowerShell. It's just aliased. Yeah, but you'll notice even in their docs they show Echo combining it with both old school PowerShell and PowerShell Core. Generates temporary files are exposed via environment variables. You'll need UTF-8 encoding to ensure proper processing of commands. Multiple commands can be written in the same file, separated by new lines. Great. Yes, but it's pipe, not... Oh, so you're saying... Oh. Wait. You're telling me that doesn't work? Yes, Is there any difference? Yeah, because the pipe is actually because the pipe would be to send it between commandlets. You're not in PowerShell. You're. Oh, okay. Fair. Fair. That is a good point. Fair. Very fair. I don't. Do I even have PowerShell Core? I don't even have PowerShell Core installed here. I recently put in a new hard drive, and so I wiped my machine and fresh installed all the things. Environment variables must be explicitly referenced using expressions or through the environment. Environment variables are not implicitly available in shell commands. That's what I was going to, aside from the this thing indicating that it was deprecated. When was this posted? October 1st, 2020. There's also a fun thing if you try to pass secrets between jobs. Like if you say, hypothetically, if you were to say pull a secret out of a key vault in job A and you want to pass that secret into job B, that's a fun one to try to do. Because GitHub Actions no happy about that. Unfortunately, it has this audacious idea that it should protect your secrets and not expose them, which is really, 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 really unfortunate. I kind of want to just dump that. Ooh, James Croft. We like James Croft. Builds in build version. Yeah. So the only thing that I see different here yeah, because he's full power. No, he's not. But he is setting that up. Okay. With other scripting. There's okay, let's give this a shot. Well, it's better than any theory I have, so we're going with it. Let's see here. So I am going to just lowercase the e because that bothers me. Okay, so we're going to do, let's see, version goes here. And actually, I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to do an extra one, extra var, because I want to see if it has something to do with the fact that I declared them above. So we'll see if this one makes any difference at all. And we'll put these guys up here. So I suppose I should be smart and just copy the whole line rather than part of the line. I'm not as dumb as I look. And that goes there, that goes there. So just replace that with Yeah, I think what I'm going to do though is I'm going to do nope. Back that up just to pull it completely out of the script. Okay, so that should be there. That should get set. So the only difference that we should see is with this extra bar. So if it has something to do with the fact that they're declared above, that will make a difference. And if that's the case, I'm going to be chatting with some people tomorrow. Let's see. Testing environment variables. The nice part is this out file append a new line. So I believe the append does so, but I could confirm. I'd say wait, I just hit go. Did you mean to push to master? Yes. Yes, I did. This is why I shouldn't be allowed push permissions. For anybody wondering, generally pushing to master is a horrible idea that you should rarely, if ever, do. Only under the most extreme of circumstances. It is by far better to push to a branch and pull request in. In this case, I was lazy and didn't want to deal with like branch filters and that kind of thing, so I went push to master. PR in only. Yes. For anybody looking to do things the correct way, what Justin says is correct. But it doesn't have that. For anybody who's a thrill seeker who likes a little bit of risk in their lives, my way adds that. Justin has no sense of thrill and excitement. Okay, let's go back here. This is the man who puts passwords in source files. No. Oh, I got it. This is the one I have to actually kick. Right. Boop. And run workflow. I suppose with the fact that I'm actually clicking it means that the only difference between running on master and running on a branch would be this little drop down right here. It should also terrify you that I have force push permissions over master. That should, and I've only seldom used those powers, and usually to fix something else that I had pushed into master. Which doesn't happen a lot, but it can. It can, just a little bit. Okay, here we go. Do the checkout. Yeah, do the things. Do the needful. Yeah, make it go. Make it go. Too much stuff. Don't want to see this. Give me the collapse arrow. Thank you. Justin! You win! It now appropriately appended CI8. Okay. So, for whatever reason, I can still Google. Makes you a developer, I believe. Why are you flashing at me? Go away. So, I need to take a quick note here. These docs are highly misleading. This one, highly misleading. I suppose this is actually showing it here. Imagine developers only making things Linux centric. First of all, I applaud you for saying that you can still Google and then sending me a Bing link. So you get points for that. Okay, so, but I would like to point out, we're gonna copy this link and this needs to get sent. I know people, and one of them needs to be receiving a message from me. Gotta get them bean bucks. You are absolutely correct. Okay, so we're going to comment, get rid of this, get rid of this. Okay. Okay, so I think now we turn this on. I don't know if there's anything left to do here. This has all of the things. This is set up appropriately. I suppose, actually, before we uncomment this, we should test this occurring on a push to verify that this doesn't trigger and just testing shows the other one. That should be the last thing we test. Let's move with push. So this won't actually trigger it, but I can do delete that tag, and then push tag to origin, and then we come over here, and then we bring, boom. I'm sorry, my build failed. What the heck happened to my build? Oh. That's funny. That is funny. So my build failed because I'm an idiot. You cannot set the version number. I'm going to leave this like this. But the version number needs to come down here. Wait. Do a dot and then the date. Sorry, I don't know which comment that's referencing, Justin. Oh, no, well, so the naming convention here is because if you put any alphanumeric characters after your regular version, NuGet will see that as a preview release. And so some people will use like alpha, beta, etc., which has the convenience bit of A comes before B, and so alpha gets listed before beta, which, sure, great, fine. I just have CI and full release because I do not have I'm the only active maintainer, and I do not have nearly the effort level to maintain something more complicated than this. I mean, I'm trying to automate away this, and I'd like to automate the creating of my release and my release notes at some point as well. So no, this just will need to move after the build and test. I'm gonna leave it here for now, only because, oh dear, here, Canary dev beta stable. Yeah, I don't need that. One active maintainer. There's one guy. There's been a handful of times where I've invited other people to grant maintainer privileges as well, and for whatever reason, people turn me down. Don't know why. Because there's been a few people who have been fairly active participants who have done great work, and they seem hesitant to join. Okay. So I'm going to let this keep airing because I don't want to wait for the build and testing to run just so I can test this. So, but this should confirm that the version number, Oh yeah, so this actually does show it. Right? Which thing triggered this? Yeah, so this is release. Wait. Is that the right commit? Oh. Dumb, cancel. Like, why is it building an old commit? Because I pushed a tag, and the tag is pointed at an old bloody commit. I don't know, maybe back here. Okay, so let's do this. So start with this. Wait, this has fast forward too. That's exactly what I want. Oh, thank you, Git Kraken. That was exactly what I wanted to do. It concerns me that you knew that. But thank you. Points awarded, Git Kraken. Points awarded. Okay, so now I should trigger one more here. Come on. Didn't everybody go at once? Food. There we go. We can just cancel that one too. I don't care about that. There we go. So now we should see skipped and then just testing, because this should get skipped because it is a push. So yeah, so nightly got skipped and it echoes out the regular version numbers without the CI on. Perfect. Okay, so next thing we do is we come, where am I at? Code. There we are. So we're gonna take this thing here and we're gonna come down to here with it. Indent, indent, indent. Clear out the just testing bits. Turn on the artifacts bits. And we are going to delete my tag. Delete from remote. And we will delete locally. Okay. Let's see. Final updates to release YAML. And then we'll see if there's any problems with it. It should just work. Okay, there's that, there's that, there's that, there's that, there's that. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay. The last thing I was hoping to get in, there was a couple PRs that got added, and I was going to try and get those things added in as well. So this was a simple one, adding missing margin to non-outline action and filter chips. So action, so missing margin. So before, after. Where's the margin? Am I missing it? Okay, I might need to look at the code change because I don't see it. So this is just defaulting. I assume this is the filter chip style. Yeah. Font size 13 is being defaulted. So it is tiny, 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 tiny. And I think if I look at this, I think the other one probably has it. This, yeah, so it's going to be hard to see because it's going to be the spacing between here to here. And without pulling out a pixel ruler, I'm going to say that looks like about 4 pixels. Perfect. So we will allow that guy in. This way my nightly release has something to find. I guess it technically would find my YAML changes as well. Let's see, let's make sure this is in the milestone. It is, great. Squash merge, Easy approve. Easy approve. Okay, next one. Adding outline assist input chips. So that's the third row down here, which is the new ones. And the important part is it passed the status checks. Okay. Oh, excellent. I love when I see this. So, one, UI change with accompanying screenshot to show what it is. And two, that change also included in the demo app so other people can see that this thing exists. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Great. Let's see, so what is this doing? So this is nesting. I do like this. Oh, I love that, yes. There's very little reason on GitHub to not have pretty PRs because they support quite a bit. So nesting the the value converter so that they avoid being shown, I assume, is the rationale there. This brings in the round converter. I wonder why we didn't need it before. Oh, it's probably for the outline corner. I bet you it's the corner radius. Let's see, foreground, background, border. These are great, though it does mean I've got more brushes to update. Huzzah. Content control. Brings in there. What is this? Ship.yaml wasn't included by default? That surprises me. That very much surprises me that we didn't have that included by default. Calendar, checkbox, combo box. I wish these were ordered. Let's go fix that real quick. Give me latest, pull requests. Let's see. I want this one. And let's see. Add remote and checkout. Boom. That guy. And then do all files. Here, defaults. I think the only thing I'd like to do, I'd like to move these ones up so this is actually alphabetized. I don't know why they aren't. Not a big deal. Sometimes I'll comment on PRs and ask people to fix stuff, but when it's little stuff like this, oftentimes I'll just do it. So let's see. This is not quite right. Let's see, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, L, M, N, O, right? C, A, C, H, E, C, H, I, C, L, C, O. Oh, that's correct. Okay. Minor reordering of resource dictionaries. Commit. And then we check and see if they left the box checked for me to be able to push into their repo. They did. Huzzah. Thank you very much. Boom. Review changes, approve. Submit. And surprised this thing isn't triggering a new... Yeah, there it goes. I was like, it should have triggered a PR build. UI just slow. Okay, so that should be there. And I'm not really concerned about it failing, but I'm going to wait for it to actually go. Triggered. Yes. But good test of the new pipeline. Since this is actually running not the same YAML file that we did before. Look at this. Extracting zip. So it is installing all the .NETs. I wonder why. I also wonder how much I could speed up my pipeline by dropping those ones that are included. It's probably not a horrible idea, because if the build agents, if and when they stop supporting a particular version, it's probably better if I start failing so I know right away and can add it back in. I mean, it's not a huge amount of time, but I'm torn. I never know quite what to do. So let's see, .NET framework end of life. So I'm gonna just pull this out. Is stability better than everything else? Yeah. So here's the next one. I am killing support for .NET Framework 4.5.2 in this library in the next release, which should drop before April. So bear in mind, it's dead in April. Microsoft is done supporting it. And I'm revving up to 4.7.2. So if that's going to be a problem to anybody, speak quickly. I think I'm going up to 472. Look, I don't recall exactly what I revved the TFM to. Oh, it's on my other. So the only reason for framework over core, and this is, so I'm multi-targeting, to be clear. So, because you probably aren't overly familiar with this project, Justin. Boom, it's this one. And if we open a NuGet Package Explorer, so I'm currently compiling for NetCore 3.1 and 4.5.2. I'm contemplating putting in one more TFM for Net 6, since that's the next LTS. There's minor potential performance gains by doing so, and I haven't decided if it's worth it or not. It's not that you can't use it in Net 5 or Net 6. It's just that if I compile it with the latest stuff, I can pick up the extra performance gains. It's like, they're only the performance gains in our code, and that code isn't really going to be that optimized. And it's mostly XAML. There's not a lot of actual C# code, because most of what this library is themes and templates. So it's like, But yeah, no, it's framework and core. Oh, I just realized this manifest is probably wrong too. Maybe not. I was thinking it was missing navigation rail, but this is probably all of it. So for what it's worth. So it is both, but I am killing off the minimum Net Framework version, I'll say that. So it's going to jump to either 4.6.2 or 4.7.2. I can't recall exactly which. I think it's going to 4.7.2 because 4.7.2 net standard compatibility, I think, drops me on the page. That'll get me there. It was 4.6.1 that I was looking to target. Either way, I have to kill 4.5 off, because in order to run source generators, I need a newer version. And I want my source generators. Come on. Build and test, build and test, build and test. Part of why this is slow is some of the tests that get run are UI tests. So, because the library does theming and templating, it's impossible to write just unit tests to accurately check everything. So a normal person would have used a UI testing library. I am not normal. I wrote my own UI testing library, which is also shameless self-promotion. You laugh, but it actually works rather well. Because most UI testing libraries go through the accessibility API, which is fine if you want to validate that your app is accessible and usable. But when you're testing a theming library, I'm not testing an app. I want to test that my theming stuff works, which means I need access to things like, hey, what's the background color of that object? Which is something the accessibility APIs don't expose, which is frustrating beyond belief. So I wrote something to get at them. Here, the other one that I've been poking at, you'll approve of this. So, actually, let's go NuGet. It will come as no surprise to you to find that the term nose plug was apparently completely open and no one had taken it yet. So naturally, I did. And I wrote this lovely little library that lets you test code that stinks, which is awesome. But you can do garbage. Correct. Yes, I am this crazy. This one I haven't done a full release of yet. I'm still trying to figure out what the API should be. So, and actually, you'd be a good candidate because I've been looking for people on a wide variety of skill sets. So, if you're interested in reviewing it, I would love feedback. Specifically, if you wanted to look at the docs, we'll show you the API of how things work. A lot of these are lifted straight out of the unit tests. But effectively, it lets you... I use the word mock only because that's what people are familiar with. But this is not mocking. This is leveraging what's called a C# trampoline. So it jumps... when you invoke a method at runtime, what ends up happening is the runtime has to look up the pointer to where the method is actually located in order to jump. What this does is it goes and rewrites that method table. Rather than jumping to the location where you think your method is, you jump somewhere else. Yeah. If it makes you feel any better, I didn't actually write that level of abusive code. That is leveraged by this thing called Harmony, which is normally used for people patching applications. So it has some nice legitimate usage. I just decided that I was going to do it for something else. I wrote a couple things to do those magical method interception bits, and I was doing it by hand, and that was big, ugly, and scary. And so I decided, I was like, there's a lot of complexity between different architectures and core versus framework. I'm like, I don't want to think about that. I do not want to be caring whether you're running your tests on a 32 or 64-bit machine. That sounds like something I don't want to care about. Yeah, well, and normally in C# this isn't that bad. And the other way that people do this, because there's a handful of other libraries out there that do static mocking, but most of them go through what are called the profiling APIs, because there's some fun bits with this where just because you invoke a method, especially when you compile with release mode, that method may get inlined out and it may not exist anymore. So there's some potential failure bits with this that can be quite confusing at times. And I went back and forth. I'm like, like there's various other people who have done stuff like this. Another common library that a lot of people look to is Pose, which is a good one, except for it's kind of fallen into disarray and this thing here. So there's a big long feed about it's getting a rewrite. Yeah. And so this is he's looking at changing up his implementation for it, because what this library does differently is it feeds in a delegate, and it walks the delegate and all of the invocations in it looking for things to this, and then does a replacement, which is cool, but there's a lot of complexity in doing that because code does not always go in that nice linear manner, especially with some of the fun C# features. So it gets a little weird. So, but it does work. It makes me want to drink in a bad way. Would a nose plug help? Hey, look at that. Build pass. Yay. Okay. Boom, boom. And oh, so yeah, though to be fair, I'm pretty sure it was a mistake on my part. So we will merge that in. It's in the milestone. And this milestone's already growing. Already 6 things in it, and 4 more that I would like to get fixed. This is going to be, these 2 here are going to be the big ones. And then a couple of these ones. This one I think I broke with the big refactor I did on the combo box. So I'm pretty sure I'm to blame for this. It's just a little, as nice as it would be to always crop this, it's a little complicated to know exactly where that needs to go. I think it's going to end up requiring a second border control wrapping just to do the clipping, I think. Because I looked at it for a few minutes and went, oh, this is harder than I thought. So, okay, with that, I'm probably going to wrap it up for the night. I've got a busy day tomorrow that's going to run very late, and I'd prefer to not be going overly long. So, Justin, thank you for coming, hanging out, and chatting. We gotta find more projects to work on at work. So, for people who couldn't figure it out, Justin and I work together less often than we would like. I think that's the fair way of saying it. But you are always welcome. So, cool. So, with that, oh, wrong button. That button, I can drive. So, I will say thank you for coming. Have a good night. Happy coding. See everyone next time.